Hi friends, you welcome to Shyam Institute and we will discuss today's current affairs. Have a look at these headlines of the day. Rastropati Tapan and Rastropati Nikatan, which is in news, we will discuss something about it. And Samvidhan Hatchadas, Samvidhan Hatchadas. And next one is Vinit Johi panel, Wings to Our Hopes 2.0 or volume 2 is a volume 2, and India's rare blood donor registry, we will discuss about it, and one nation one time. These are the headlines of the day, and in addition to this then we will discuss some more concepts. Have a look at the first one, Rastropati Tapan and Rastropati Nikatan. The President Draupadi Murmu inaugurated this particular Tapan and Nikatan at Dehradun, and officially this was introduced in 1976, and generally then these are considered visiting places of the President based on the season. So then this is the first time they announced a particular book on this particular Tapan and Nikatan. The biodiversity of these places, they are around 20 to 30 kilometers of range they are in. So then the biodiversity speciality then included in a book, then with the name Biodiversity of Rastropati Tapan and Rastropati Nikatan and Udyan as well. Udyan, Rastropati Tapan, Biodiversity of Tapan, Nikatan and Udyan, TNU, Udyan. So then this particular book was inaugurated by the Draupadi Murmu, and here it was officially allowed for the public to visit this particular place, this Tapan, Nikatan and Udyan, allowed these places as visiting places from 24th June to 1st July 2025. That's the context. And then here a book on, as I mentioned earlier, the book on biodiversity of Rastropati Tapan, Udyan and Nikatan, where it was officially introduced at Dehradun, Uttarakhand. That's the point. So moving to the next one, Samvidhan Hatchadas. Samvidhan Hatchadas, June 25th observed as a Samvidhan Hatchadas. So then the Constitution Assassination Day in general. So why it is called assassination? Then what happened in 1975 then, if you observe? In 1975 June 25th, the emergency was announced by the Indira Gandhi. She was the Prime Minister by the time, and this decision was taken by her, and she invoked a national emergency and invoked the Article 352. During that period, during that time 1975, the Allahabad High Court then cleared a election in the constituency Raebareli. Then Indira Gandhi was nominated from that particular constituency, and then she rigged in that particular she involved in the rigging process of that particular election, and she won the election by rigging process. So then immediately the High Court considered her as a victim of this particular issue, and then the High Court released a note. So immediately then the Prime Minister announced the emergency, and that was continued till 1977, and then till around 21 months the emergency was observed by India, and then during that time it is also a day to pay homage to every person who suffered due to the excess of the emergency and the darkest phase of the Indian history. That is the context. That's the reason this particular June 25th observed as a Samvidhan Hatchadas. This gazette was introduced by Amit Shah, then by announcing this as the Samvidhan Hatchadas last year 2024. So then if you observe this one in a different angle, it has completed, it was officially announced in 1975, then for 2025, by 2025 it has completed 50 years, a golden jubilee for this emergency issue. And on as I mentioned, 12th June Allahabad High Court declared Indira Gandhi was guilty on election at Raebareli, and it was declared by the president. By the time president was Farooquddin Ali Ahmed, he confirmed that. So then it was declared, the emergency was declared by 25th June 1975, and which was revoked on 1977. Around 21 months then emergency continued. Emergency was continued. That's the context here. So then to remember that, this particular day officially announced as a in a notorious way, then it's remembered. So then this particular day observed as a Samvidhan Hatchadas. And then recently, today as well, today only, the Emergency Diaries. The Emergency Diaries is a book launched by Amit Shah with the Bluecraft Digital Foundation. Bluecraft Digital Foundation introduced this particular one. The Emergency Diaries launched by the Amit Shah, which is all about the experiences faced by the experience of this particular emergency of different people, particularly the present Prime Minister Narendra Modi, how he felt at the time of what are the problems he was faced at the time of he was a RSS leader by this time. Then what are the problems faced by the people around him, and then how he has faced the problem, incorporated in this particular book, that is the Emergency Diaries, which was launched by the Amit Shah. That is today on June 25th. And this is all about this Samvidhan Hatchadas, which is observed on June 25th. Moving to the next one. Yes, Vinit Joshi panel. This Vinit Joshi panel introduced by the Ministry of Education, Union Education Minister constituted a panel headed by Higher Education Secretary Vinit Joshi, a dependency of the students on coaching centers. This is the main objective, how they are depending, and then what we can do in a simple way to then divert them, and at the same time assess the effectiveness and then fairness of the competitive exams. To estimate the effectiveness and the fairness of the competitive exams. These two are the objectives then they are going to work on. So then simply then within 1 or 2 months then they will give a report on this particular issues. So dependency of students on coaching centers and assess the effectiveness and fairness of the performance, competitiveness of the examinations. These are the terms. Important one, Vinit Joshi panel. Then they may ask which of the following person as considered as a panel head by the Ministry of Education to look after the dependency of the students on coaching centers or on assess the effectiveness and then fairness of the competitive exams. They may ask like that. That's a part. Moving to the next one, Wings to Our Hopes. Wings to Our Hopes is a book written on then it is also announced as a Ashonki Udan. Ashonki Udan. Asha means hopes. Hopes, wings to our hopes. That is the name of the book. Then this was released by the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, and then at a Rastropati Bhavan, which is a collection of the speeches of the Draupadi Murmu, the present president of India, in her second year term. Then it is a 51 speeches collection. This book contains the collection of 51 speeches of Draupadi Murmu. That's a part. And then is a collection of speeches, as I mentioned, president during her second year in office. And this was published by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Ministry of Information and Broadcasting published this book. What is the name of the book? Wings to Our Hopes. Wings to Our Hopes. On the same name, Wings, one famous person, a very special person, who was the ex-president of India as well. He wrote a book. He is called a Missile Man of India as well. So what is the name of that particular book? Try to comment here. Agreed? That's a part. Moving to the next one. India's Rare Blood Donor Registry. India's Rare Blood Donor Registry. So then we know blood groups or some rare blood groups are there. Negative groups are generally then they are rare groups. So to collect those negative groups and to facilitate whenever it is required in a risky term or a risky time or in a emergency. So then this particular registry introduced in Mumbai. This particular was introduced in Mumbai. This is the first time India is introducing this kind of registries for blood. The first time introduced under ICMR, Indian Council Medical Research. So this particular program introduced NRBDR, National Rare Blood Donor Registry, first time in India, then which is given name as a E-Rakt Kosh, electronic blood registry, e-blood registry. This is the meaning of this one. And then generally then with the deficiency of hemoglobin or with the lack of sufficient hemoglobin, generally then we may face diseases like we may affect with the thalassemia one, and then other one is the sickle cell anemia. To combat these diseases, then we have to maintain a registry, and the two, like if any emergency situations are there, then to support the human and not to die because of our unavailability of the blood, then this particular donor registry is introduced. That is the context here. So then try to give a comment here saying that sickle cell anemia free India will become a sickle cell anemia free by which year? This was announced by the Prime Minister. India will become a sickle cell anemia free by which year? Year then I want. These two questions then you have to comment. Okay. Moving to the next one. One nation, one time. So Indian Standard Time, to make emphasize the Indian Standard Time for all, mandatory for all. To make this mandatory for all, the legal and the digital systems and administrative purposes, and for the administrative purposes, Union Minister Prahlad Joshi announced, the Food and Consumer Affairs Minister announced this particular one nation, one time program. Then by keeping in mind the national security, then to facilitate the digital transactions and supporting critical infrastructure. By keeping mind in these three areas. So these three areas, national security, digital transactions and supporting to the critical infrastructure, this particular one nation, one time concept was brought to the presence of the public by the Ministry of Food and Consumer Affairs, Prahlad Joshi. So one nation, one time. So every citizen of the nation, then whether they are working or whether they are in business, whatever, they have to follow a standard time, that is single standard time. So then that is the intention behind this one. This particular facilitation may get avoid these digital transactions issues. At the same time, then national security wise as well, to stop the attacks of the terrorists, and at the same time supporting the critical infrastructure as well. So by keeping all this in mind, then they introduced a concept called one nation, one time. There's a point here. So then this is about one nation, one time. Moving to the next one, a special book is named as Women, Life and Freedom. Women, Life, Freedom. This is the name of the book. It's written by Choura Makermi. Written this book. He's a writer of this book, and which was translated by Mayo Judo, which was translated by Mayo Judo, which is translated from French to English. Translated from French to English. That's the context. Who wrote this book? Choura Makermi. So then this particular book echoes of a revolutionary uprising in Iran. Revolutionary uprising Iran. This sounds about the revolutionary uprising in Iran. This is the context here. So it was translated from French to English by Maya Judo. Moving to the next one. Yes, question of the day. Then every day we'll go ahead with a particular question, a special question. So recently the central government has constituted a panel under whose chairmanship to review the dependence on entrance exams and coaching centers. So central government has constituted a panel under whose chairmanship? T. Ravi Shankar. T. Ravi Shankar, then we know, then Deputy Governor of RBI. Amitabh Kant, Niti, earlier Niti, he worked with the Niti. And Vinit Joshi. Satpal Bhanu is also not. Satpal Bhanu, T. Ravi Shankar, then RBI Deputy Governor. RBI Deputy Governor, one way. And then part-time member of 16th Finance Commission. Part-time member of 16th Finance Commission. So Vinit Joshi, then he is Education Secretary. And Satpal Bhanu, he worked as a LIC head, former ex-LIC head. So Vinit Joshi is our answer. Vinit Joshi. So answer C is correct. Answer C is correct. This is all about our question of the day. Moving to the, so then these are the current affairs for the day. We will meet in the tomorrow session with the continuation of this one. Thank you and all the best.